Have you noticed yourself or a loved one repeating the same stories lately or struggling to find common words during conversations? What if I told you these aren't just normal signs of aging, but potentially early warning signs of dementia that most people miss until it's too late? Most people dismiss these subtle changes as just getting older. But neurologists are now warning that certain conversation patterns can signal dementia has already begun in your brain, years before a diagnosis. When there's still time to take action, in this video, I'll reveal the 4 conversation changes that doctors say are clear warning signs of cognitive decline. Signs that, if caught early enough, could help you protect your brain before irreversible damage occurs. Let me tell you about Elizabeth, a vibrant 68-year-old retired teacher from Vermont. Her family had always admired her sharp mind and witty conversation. She was the one who remembered everyone's birthdays, told the best stories, and could complete the Sunday crossword puzzle faster than anyone. But gradually, her daughter Stephanie noticed something changing. Elizabeth would occasionally pause mid-sentence, searching for common words that used to come easily. She started telling the same stories at family gatherings without realizing she'd already shared them. Her family dismissed these moments as just normal aging. That is, until 2 years later when Elizabeth received a devastating dementia diagnosis. Her neurologist revealed something shocking. Those changes in her conversation patterns weren't just normal aging. They were the earliest warning signs of dementia that everyone had missed. Signs that, had they been recognized, could have led to interventions that might have slowed the disease's progression. Now, Elizabeth's family wishes more than anything that they had known what to look for. Could you or someone you love be showing these same warning signs without realizing it? Let's dive into the 4 critical conversation changes that neurologists say you must pay attention to after age 65. Number 1, word-finding difficulties and vocabulary changes. Have you ever found yourself struggling to recall a simple word, like the name of an object you use every day? Maybe you've caught yourself saying things like, "hand me that thing," or, the whatchamacallit, when you can't immediately find the right term. This isn't just an occasional memory blip. It could be the first warning sign of cognitive decline. Neurologists at Johns Hopkins University have identified that difficulty retrieving common words begins up to 7 years before a clinical dementia diagnosis. Dr. Rebecca Thompson, a leading researcher in early dementia detection, explains, "When patients come to our clinic already diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, we can almost always trace back a pattern of word-finding difficulties that began years earlier, difficulties that both the patients and their families dismissed as insignificant." Consider what happened to Howard, a 70-year-old retired engineer from Ohio. His wife first noticed something unusual when Howard, who had always been articulate, started describing objects instead of naming them. "Could you pass me that, the thing you write with?" he'd say, instead of simply asking for a pen. During dinner with friends, he'd pause noticeably mid-sentence, searching for words that once came easily. Howard didn't think anything of these moments. He assumed everyone his age experienced them. But his doctor later confirmed these weren't just senior moments. They were early neural misfirings in the language centers of his brain that indicated significant cognitive changes had already begun. So what can you do today if you've noticed these word-finding difficulties? First, start strengthening your vocabulary immediately with daily word exercises. Keep a small notebook, and each time you struggle to find a word, write it down once you've remembered it. Review this journal weekly. This simple practice can help reinforce neural pathways. Second, practice word association games for just 5 minutes each morning. Say a category like fruits, and then name as many as you can in 60 seconds. These exercises stimulate the exact brain regions that dementia targets first. Most importantly, if you notice these word-finding problems becoming more frequent, don't wait to get help. Schedule an appointment with a neurologist, not just your primary doctor. Many general practitioners lack the specialized training to catch these subtle linguistic changes, but neurologists know exactly what to look for. The sooner you address these changes, the more options you'll have for protecting your cognitive function. Don't wait until you're struggling with major memory loss. By then, significant damage has already occurred. Number 2, repetitive storytelling and questions. When was the last time someone told you you've already mentioned that 3 times today? Or have you noticed a loved one telling the same stories or asking the same questions repeatedly, seemingly unaware they're repeating themselves? This second warning sign is one of the most commonly missed indicators of early cognitive decline. According to research from the Alzheimer's Association, repetitive storytelling isn't just an annoying habit, it's a significant neurological marker that memory consolidation is failing. Dr. James Wilson, Director of Geriatric Neurology at Cornell Medical Center, explains, when someone repeats the same stories or questions without realizing it, they're demonstrating a fundamental disruption in how the brain processes and stores recent information. The person genuinely doesn't remember sharing that information before, which signals that new memories aren't being properly encoded. Take Patricia, a 73-year-old former accountant from Florida. Her son first noticed something concerning when she enthusiastically told him about her cruise vacation 3 times during the same lunch. Each time, she shared the story with the same excitement and details, as if telling it for the first time. When he gently pointed this out, she seemed genuinely surprised, insisting she hadn't told him before. Patricia dismissed the incident, but these repetitive patterns continued and gradually increased over the following months. It wasn't until her doctor recognized this as a warning sign of cognitive decline that Patricia realized these weren't just harmless senior moments. What should you do if you notice this pattern in yourself or a loved one? Start by creating what neurologists call a memory journal. Keep a small notebook where you jot down conversations, stories shared, and questions asked. Review it regularly to become more aware of potential repetition. This simple act of recording can actually strengthen memory consolidation pathways in your brain. For family members, develop what doctors call the gentle redirect technique. Instead of pointing out the repetition with, "You already told me that," try saying, "That reminds me of another part of that story," and guide the conversation forward. Don't ignore this warning sign. Repetitive storytelling often appears insignificant, but neurologists identify it as one of the most reliable early indicators of dementia, appearing up to 5 years before more serious symptoms develop. If you've noticed this pattern occurring regularly, schedule an appointment with a neurologist specifically for cognitive testing. Early intervention is critical, and certain medications can be significantly more effective when started at this early stage, rather than waiting for more obvious symptoms. Number 3, following conversations becomes increasingly difficult. Have you noticed yourself or a loved one becoming unusually quiet in group settings or suddenly changing the subject in the middle of discussions? Are you finding it harder to keep track of conversations when multiple people are talking? This could be far more concerning than simply not paying attention. The studies from the National Institute on Aging reveal that difficulty tracking multi-person conversations is one of the most reliable early predictors of cognitive decline. Dr. and Sarah Bennett, neuropsychologist specializing in dementia, warns, when someone who was previously engaged in group discussions starts withdrawing from conversations or frequently loses track of what's being discussed, it often indicates that the brain is struggling to process multiple streams of information simultaneously, a function that requires complex neural coordination. Consider Michael, a 76-year-old retired lawyer from Seattle, who had always been the life of every party, quick-witted and fully engaged in every conversation. His wife began noticing that during dinner parties, Michael would become unusually quiet. When asked about it later, he confessed, "I just couldn't keep up. Everyone was talking and I couldn't follow who was saying what." He started avoiding social gatherings altogether, making excuses to stay home rather than face the frustration and embarrassment of not being able to follow conversations. Michael's withdrawal wasn't due to hearing loss or disinterest. It was an early sign that his brain was struggling with the cognitive demands of complex social interaction. The danger here is that many people respond to this difficulty by simply withdrawing from social situations, the exact opposite of what your brain needs. Social engagement is crucial for cognitive health, and isolation only accelerates decline. So what should you do if you recognize this warning sign? First, implement what neurologists call conversational strengthening techniques. When in group settings, practice mentally summarizing each person's point before moving to the next speaker. This simple mental exercise helps train your brain to track multiple inputs. Second, don't avoid social situations. Instead, modify them. Meet with smaller groups in quieter environments where conversations are easier to follow. And third, be honest with close friends about what you're experiencing. Ask them to help by speaking one at a time in group settings. If you've noticed this difficulty following conversations becoming more frequent, don't wait to seek help. Request a referral to a cognitive specialist who can perform comprehensive testing. Many effective interventions exist, but they work best when started at the earliest signs of cognitive changes. Don't let embarrassment prevent you from getting the help that could protect your brain function for years to come. Are you willing to risk your cognitive future just to avoid an uncomfortable conversation with your doctor? Number 4. Abstract language and humor. Comprehension changes. The fourth and most overlooked sign happens when idioms, metaphors, and jokes suddenly become confusing, a warning sign that few people recognize but neurologists immediately notice. Have you found yourself or a loved one taking figures of speech literally or missing the punchline of jokes that everyone else finds funny? Research from the University of California shows that the brain regions responsible for understanding abstract language and humor are among the first affected by dementia-related changes. Dr. Robert Chen, neuropsychologist specializing in language and cognition, explains the ability to understand abstract concepts, appreciate humor, and interpret non-literal language requires sophisticated cognitive processing across multiple brain regions. When these abilities begin to decline, it's a powerful indicator that neural networks are compromised, often years before more obvious memory problems appear. Take Diane, a 69-year-old retired nurse from Chicago. Her husband first noticed something unusual when she stopped laughing at their favorite TV comedy show. When asked why, she said she simply didn't understand what was supposed to be funny anymore. Later, when her daughter said she was feeling under the weather, Diane looked confused and checked outside to see if it was raining. These subtle changes in understanding figurative language weren't obvious to Diane herself. She didn't realize she was interpreting things more literally than before. But these changes were actually early warning signs that the complex neural networks required for abstract thinking were beginning to fail. What can you do if you recognize this warning sign? First, engage in activities that specifically target abstract thinking. Reading fiction, poetry, and solving puzzles that involve wordplay can help strengthen these cognitive pathways. Second, implement what neurologists call the metaphor practice technique. Spend 5 minutes daily reviewing common idioms and metaphors, explaining their literal and figurative meanings. This simple exercise activates the exact brain regions most vulnerable to early dementia changes. From a nutritional perspective, increase your intake of omega-3 fatty acids immediately. Research shows that DHA, a specific type of omega-3 found in fatty fish like salmon, helps protect the brain regions responsible for complex language processing. And finally, if you've noticed persistent changes in your ability to understand humor or abstract language, schedule an appointment with a neuropsychologist who specializes in cognitive assessment. These specialists can identify subtle language processing changes that standard medical tests often miss. Don't dismiss these changes as unimportant. While they might seem minor compared to memory problems, neurologists recognize them as equally significant warning signs of cognitive decline, signs that appear when intervention can still make a meaningful difference. Have you noticed any of these changes in yourself or someone you care about? The time to act is now, not when more serious symptoms develop. These 4 conversation changes, word-finding difficulties, repetitive storytelling, trouble following group discussions, and changes in understanding abstract language are critical warning signs that doctors look for when assessing cognitive health. By recognizing them early, you gain precious time to implement interventions that may slow or even halt the progression of cognitive decline. Remember Elizabeth from our opening story. Her family wishes more than anything that they had known these signs before her diagnosis. You now have information they didn't, the power to recognize these warning signs before it's too late. Your brain deserves protection, and knowing these early conversation markers gives you a powerful advantage in guarding your cognitive health. Don't dismiss these subtle changes as normal aging. They could be your brain's earliest call for help. Pay attention to your conversations and those of your loved ones. The words we use, how we use them, and how we engage in discussions aren't just about communication. They're windows into our brain health. If you notice any of these warning signs, take action immediately. Schedule that appointment, start those brain exercises, make those nutritional changes. Your future self will thank you for the gift of cognitive health that comes from acting early. If you've found this information valuable, please hit the like button right now and subscribe to our channel for more critical health information. Have you noticed any of these conversation changes in yourself or someone you love? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else recognize these warning signs. And please share this video with friends and family members over 65. This information could quite literally change the course of someone's life by helping them catch these warning signs before significant damage occurs.